Ju ki jai. Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai. Nityalla Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashwata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki jai. Nityalla Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashwata Rashata Shishimar Shri Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nityalla Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashwata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupāda ki jai. Nityalla Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashwata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nityalla Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashwata Rashata Shishimar Jagar Guru Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Gosai Prabhupāda ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi Mahamahotsav ki jai. Nityalla Pravishtam Vishnupad Swaparshad Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai. Jai Nityalla Pravishta Mahabhagavat Śrīla Gaurkishoras Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nityalla Pravishta Śrīla Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nityalla Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Anugaurya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopala Bhattadash Raghunath Shara Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda ki jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Tirubhav Titi ki jai. Jagar Guru Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Goswami Prabhupāda ki jai. Tadiya Shubha Vyāsa-pūjā Mahamahotsav ki jai. Mahotsav Palan Kari Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hari Bol. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's a little bit late. It's after 11 p.m. But I just felt like I didn't read enough this morning. And so, yeah, although I am feeling a little tired, but I don't know. I don't know what got into me, but I just decided to go live. So these two things that I'm going to read, well, let's see how tired I am by the end of the first one. But I haven't read either of them, so we're all reading this for the first time. So I'm going to share my screen. And Hari Bol, Ganga Mataji. So Shrivas, he just sent this out on his website. Really awesome website, Big Drum, bigdrum.us. If you haven't subscribed, I highly recommend subscribing here. I'll just show you the main page. See, so he just, all of these articles here are really amazing things that Shrivas found and translated. So everything he posts here is translated into English for the first time. So we're going to read this. Prati-sambhāṣaṇa, a response to disciples. These are, so on Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Prabhupāda's Vyāsa-pūjā day, so many of his disciples would write offerings. And so this is the response to the offerings that he writes. Actually, my cousin Manjari Didi, she just went live to read some of these offerings that they made to Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Prabhupada. So now we're going to hear response. Let me just check the comments. I'm going to close all the extra things. Oh, anyways, never mind. I'll keep that open. All right. Okay. One second. I'm going to see if I can make this. No. Okay. by Jagadguru Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur Gosvāmī Prabhupāda. Prati-sambhāṣaṇa. Actually, I'm going to put this in a Word doc because this is too bright for me. So I'd rather see this on a dark background. Alright. I came back. Sorry, I came back really late from Mayapur just now. That's why I'm starting so late. Okay, anyways. Let's make this bigger so you can all read with me. Let's make this Balaram. It's one of my favorite fonts. All right. So this is written on the occasion of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Prabhupāda's Vyāsa-pūjā in 1924, in humble response to the effusive offerings of his disciples, originally published in the Weekly Gaudiya, 2nd volume, 28th issue, March 1, 1924. He says, "My dear friends, delivering me from catastrophe, Vipad Udharan Bandhavgan. Before saying anything, I am, as per the tradition of the Shrotapata, the path of what has been heard in succession, I am offering obeisance with all 8 bodily limbs, like a stick, to my Sri Gurudev, who is a manifestation inconceivably identical to I'm offering my obeisance to my Sri Gurudev, who is a manifestation inconceivably identical to and different from Sri Vishnu and the Vaishnavas." One second, I'm just seeing if this comment has anything to do. Oh. Okay. My Sri Gurudev is the manifestation of pastimes as the Ashraya Jatiya Vishnu Vigraha, the omnipresent form of Vishnu as subject or repository and agent of prem. Though he is the form of Vishnu that is beloved to Bhagavat Priyatama Vishnu Vigraha, in the form of the Vaishnav, he is situated in this material realm in all living entities for the purpose of elevating fallen wretches such as myself. In Nara and human, which rules as the king of all living creatures, he is my sole object of worship, my upasya vastu. Though as Narottama, the topmost of humans, he is a Vaishnav, or the servant of the supremely cherished object of all the Vaishnavas. He is a principle, a truth, that is inconceivably one with and different from Sri Gaurasundar. From the perspective of non-difference, he is the embodiment of the pinnacle of all that is worshipful, upasya parakashta tanu. The visible world is occupied, it's vyasta, it's occupied in his service. Yet humans such as myself, who are opposed to service, are too content to desist, nirasta, at simply referring to him as Narottama. The devotees of the Narottama are the Naragan, are the human multitude of Vaishnavas, and therefore they themselves are manifest as my in many personified forms. Bahumurti. One second, I'm just going to fix this weird space problem. There. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Sorry, let me just... All right. Where was I? In the anvaya bhav, in the positive concordant state of reality, they indeed are my Guru Varga, all my Gurus, and my teachers. In the vyatireka bhav, the negative discordant state, in a phase of time that is conducive for their bhajan, somehow or other, it is they who are preoccupied with hearing the rambling utterances of such a wretched human, Naradhama, as myself. I believe that I believe that is in their company alone. That it is in their company alone. I should actually find this so I can say. I believe that it is in their company alone that I am capable of performing kirtan in a single unified fashion, all together, of the divine message I have heard from Sri Gurudev. I do not have the audacity to give to the world. Why? Because the tattva, the principle of Vishnu and the Vaishnavas, is eternally unique, nitya vaishishta. In other words, though they are eternally possessed of mutual differences, they are, in an inconceivable manner, identical. I have heard from Sri Gurudev that all upasya, all worshipful deities, all categories and classes of upasaks, worshippers, and all types of upasana, worship, are, within the non-dual absolute truth, Advai Gyan, Brajendra Nandan, the son of the king of Braj. So they are all within the non-dual absolute truth, and they are eternally embraced or united, nitya sangshlishta. Yet at the same time, though they are nitya sangshlishta, although they are eternally embraced, are united with the Lord, they are also eternally endowed with a variegated range of playful expression, vichitra vilas yukta. That was so they are eternally endowed with a variegated range of playful expression that results from the state of their manifestation. Said Nityalila, those pastimes endowed with variegated playful expressions are what has been forgotten by me and other jiva entities like me who are averse to Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas. And because of that, we have become bhrashta. We have gone astray from that nitya satya, from that eternal truth. What is more, I cannot lift myself up enough to even understand properly just how far gone astray I am. In my eternal awareness, in my nitya bodha, I am Krishna's servant. In my eternal awareness, I am Krishna's servant. Having forgotten my eternal servitude, I have fallen into the well of a war when it comes to gaining some experience of my own true form and nature. In the course of such a plummet, my experience of Tatastha Shakti enters a state of slumber. I then experience aversion to the service of the omnipotent absolute truth, Vrajendra Nandan, as my supreme accomplishment. Because that attitude contradicts the eternal transcendental variegation of playful expressions, the Nitya Chinmaya Vilas Vichitrata, I mistake Mayavad, impersonal monism, for Brahma Gyan, knowledge of the Supreme Being. That manner of philosophy propels me down an ill-considered path and is depriving me for all time of Sri Gurudev's eternal servitude. That is why I am failing to understand Bheda Bheda Prakash, the manifestation of simultaneous oneness and difference in my own existence. The three Vedic mantras beginning with Dva Suparna, 2 birds, are not becoming the subject of my kirtan. Where Bheda Bheda Prakash is unmanifest in my amnesia of my Swarup is precisely where I am making an offense at the worshipful feet of Sridhar Swamipad, who is non-different from the sole protector of bhakti, Sri Vishnu Swamipad. Mistaking the conceptions of Shuddha-dvaita, purified monism, with Kevala-dvaitavad, I am being deprived of tasks of service dear to my Prana-vallabh, who is the beloved of my very life heirs. Cheated of following Shri Vyasa's guidance, I become bereft of Bhaktisiddhānta, the proper conclusions of bhakti, and invite avidya, ignorance, and it is thereby that I find myself to be a mundane enjoyer and deliberator, bewildered by arrogance, who is giving up the Shrotapata, the path of what I have heard from Sri Guru. That is precisely why I am becoming a Vedic, non-Vedic, and giving more regard to the considerations of karma, thereby at the feet of the Vaishnavas. I am coming to understand that the Pancharatra Padati, the formulary spoken by Sri Narayan, is at odds with the Shrota Karma Padati, the traditions of Karma Kanda as received via hearing, that is, the Vedas. By seeing the worshipful deities Sankarshan, Pradumna, Aniruddha as different from from Vasudeva and his tattva, I am reaping inauspiciousness for myself. As I make offenses at the feet of Shandilya, my perception of Kevaladvaita, extreme monism, is becoming stronger. The much-needed aid that Sri Purna Pragya Rishi, Anandatirtha Madhva Muni, extends to me during these dark days by manifesting his servitude to Vyasa is something I am truly incapable of expressing in the language of this material world. The sincere efforts of bhajan made by Sri Prabhupada out of devotion for that worshipful object, which were preserved and safeguarded in the heart of Sri Ishpuripad, are precisely what Sri Gaurasundar distributed among his intimate associates without reservation. Sri Rupa was he who expanded and spread that prem, and following in his guidance is the personification of loving attachment of or for bhajan, Bhajan Rati Vigraha, Sri Das Goswami Prabhu. Becoming averse to the service of his lotus feet, I have become averse to Hari. Sri Jivapad, following the cue of Sri Sanatan Goswami, has grabbed me by the hair and firmly established me as the eternal servant of the lotus feet of Raghunath Sarup. Gaining the great good fortune of hearing the words issuing forth from the worshipful hands of Sri Kaviraj Goswami, I gained the opportunity to see my Sri Gurudev as Sri Nartam Parapadma. I am an insignificant jiva of this Vishva, of this vast world. The master of that Vishva, Sri Vishwanath Prabhu, has invoked so many Vyāsa-pūjas in order to deliver me from a wayward trajectory. In times of peril, Vedanta Charya Sri Baladev Vijayabhushan, who infuses strength into Sri Madhusudan Das and Sri Uddhav Das, manifests as Sri Guru and delivers me from the harrowing danger of the Tarka Panta, the path of empirical logic, and reveals Nyaya, the Vedic school of logic. That same Ashraya Jatiya form of Guru as Vinod has, by his writings, personal conduct, and other forms of service to Sri Vishnu, become the personification of Krishna Dvaipayan, and given me shelter at the innermost region of Brajabhumi Navadvip, at Sri Vrajpatan. Knowing that I will fall down, Patan, if I succumb to the materialistic knowledge of this realm of indulgence, and dash about in an external pursuit of darshan of that splendor of Vrajbhumi, that form of Sri Gaurakishore that has bathed me in the dust of his feet. Adorned with the foot dust of that accidental embodiment, today I have the audacity to introduce myself in the lineage of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Rishera Kirta hoite Moishe Laghishta, Jamadhai hoite Moishe Papishta, Mora Nam Jay Kore Tar Punya Khoy, Mora Nam Jay Loy Tar Pap Hoy, Emona Nirghrinak More Ke Badoya Kore, Eka Nityananda Bina Jagata Majhare. That savior of the fallen, a veritable wish-fulfilling tree, that most magnanimous Nityananda Vigraha is protecting me in all respects from becoming averse to Hari. All of you Vaishnavas are his Vilas Vigraha, Vaibhav Prakash, the manifestation of the opulence of that personification of pastimes. I offer millions upon millions of Dandavat Pranams, obeisances at your feet. You are my dearest friends, my only saviors in times of adversity. I am just another creature of this visible, fleeting realm born of the three modes of material nature. I am harboring aversion to Krishna in my body, mind, and words. I beseech you to take up that tridanda of mine, which is a most suitable tool for punishment, and correct my tendency to enjoy that which is meant for Krishna. In the external world, you are all Vaishnav Paramahamsas. Please have mercy on me so that I may carry the danda you have relinquished and accept my due punishment, thereby reaping deliverance from the conceptions that are inimical to bhakti and become inclined to performing Hari Bhajan. You fulfill the infinite ambitions of an infinite number of living entities. I am a jiva who is averse to Hari, so kindly help me by punishing my aversion to Hari and engaging my body, mind, and words in Shri Vyāsa-pūjā. I am a small, insignificant prani, creature, so I pray that I may never forget the guidance of my prananath, the Lord of my life heirs, Ananda Tirtha. Call me a materialistic Bhedavadi, dualist, hate me, but I pray that for all infinite time, Anantakal, I never give up the service of that Vasudev and thereby fall prey to some degraded mentality. Shri Swarup Damodar is the second self, the Dvitiya Swarup of Shri Gaurasundar, and the preacher of Shri Gaurasundar's eternal Sanatan Dharma religion. Shri Rupa is his bosom friend and identical to him. My great hope and conviction is that the two personalities who are intimate followers of Shri Rupa, that is, Shri Bhakti Vinod and Shri Gaur Kishore, will regard me as their Rupanuga servant and forever grants me a place at their feet. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Guru Gauranga Gati, he whose only hope is Shri Guru and Gauranga, Shri Varshabhanavi Daita Das. Wow, that was beautiful. Alright, so now I'm going to read, one second, let me just, let me see who's all there. So, alright, Ganga Mataji, looks like it's just me and you and one other person. So now I'm going to read, this is from the book, The Life and Precepts of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, written by Devamayī Mātājī. That's Rup Manjari Didi's and Rukmini Didi's mother. I'm going to put it on that Word doc though, so that it's less painful. Yeah, so it's easier on the eyes. I've also never read this. This is my first time. Let me just take away track changes. I'm going to make the text a little bigger. All right. Divinity can be seen in its own light. The transcendental life of Srila Prabhupada Sarasvati Thakur can be known to us only by his own causeless mercy, for such is the nature of the Supreme Lord and his representatives who come to this world. Srila Prabhupada was an infinite ocean of divine treasure. If we are fortunate enough, perhaps we can touch the waves of that ocean as they lap the shore of our mortal plane. Within that ocean are his innumerable transcendental scholarship, genius, spiritual realization, humility, magnanimity, compassion, mercy, and divine love, to name only a few. The essence of Srila Prabhupada's life cannot be revealed in many volumes, let alone a single chapter, if they are merely a catalogue of facts and figures. It takes the dedication of a lifetime to attain a true glimpse of his message, and his life is his message. We are about to stand in personality. We are about to catch sight of that reality which is eternal and infinite. Yet in our meeting with the eternal, we have to retrace the footsteps of time because we must begin somewhere. So now we're beginning from his childhood, 1874 to 1892. Śrīla Prabhupāda Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvati Thakur made his appearance in Purushottam Kshetra, Jagannath Puri, in the state of Orissa, at 3:30 in the afternoon on Friday, the 6th of February, 1874. He was born in his family home, which was next to the holy site called Narayana Chatta of Sri Jagannath, and which always reverberated with the chanting of the holy name. He was the fourth son of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srimati Bhagavati Devi. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur firmly established the concept of pure Vaishnavism in the hearts of many educated and spiritually inquisitive people of Bengal in the latter part of the 19th century. Śrīla Prabhupāda Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur was a beautiful child with all the bodily symptoms of a great personality that are described in the scriptures. Everyone was amazed to see that the child was born with his umbilical cord wrapped around his neck like a Brahman's sacred thread. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur named his son Shri Bimala Prasad, meaning the mercy of the transcendental potency of Lord Jagannath, Srimati Bimala Devi. When Shri Bimala Prasad was 6 months old, Lord Jagannath's annual chariot festival took place. That year, let me just turn on track changes now. Okay. That year, the chariot stopped in front of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house and could not be budged an inch for 3 days. So while Lord Jagannath stayed in front of the house, Kirtan was continuously performed there under the leadership of Śrīla Thakur Mahashaya. Mahashaya is an honorific title, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur Mahashaya. On one of these days, Shri Bimala Prasad, in his mother's arms, went to see Lord Jagannath and extended his hand toward the deity as if to offer his obeisance. At that moment, a garland fell from the neck of Lord Jagannath and encircled the child. The crowd was jubilant, witnessing Lord Jagannath's blessing on the child. Amid the tumultuous sound of Hari Bol, Bhaktivinoda Thakur fed Bimala Prasad some of Lord Jagannath's Mahaprasad, and thus observed the child's Annaprashana, the grain ceremony, his first feeding of grains, under the most auspicious circumstances. Shri Bimala Prasad lived in Jagannath Dham for 10 months with his mother. Then they traveled to Bengal and resided first at Ranaghat and then at Sri Ramapur. Once, when Shri Bimala Prasad was a small boy, he took a mango without first offering it to the Lord. When his father chastised him for this, he became very remorseful and immediately vowed never to eat a mango again, a vow which he observed his whole life. In 1881, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur had a house built in Kolkata at Rama Bagan and named it Bhakti Bhavan. As the foundation was being dug, a deity of Sri Kurmadev manifested himself from the ground. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave this deity to his son Shri Prasad when he was 8 or 9 years old and taught him the mantra and the method of deity worship. The child duly started his deity worship with great care and devotion. When Shri Bimala Prasad was in 5th grade, he invented a new method of shorthand, which he called, how do you say that? Bikanto, or Vikrinti. His teachers were always amazed by his mastery of Bengali and Sanskrit, his extraordinary intelligence and memory, and his pure moral and devotional nature. At this time, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave him Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita to read. Shri Bimala Prasad also displayed an extraordinary ability in mathematics and astrology. He studied astrology under the tutelage of the famous astrologer Mahesh Chandra Chudamani. and he impressed his teacher with his mastery of the subject and his exceptional talent. He also studied astrology with Pandit Sundar Lal. Seeing his scholarship in many different subjects, including the scriptures, his teachers named him Siddhanta Sarasvati, a master of scriptural conclusions. When Srila Sarasvati Thakur was a student in the 7th grade in Sri Ramapur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave him Harinam, the holy name, on Tulsi Mala, as well as Sri Nrsimha Mantra. In 1885, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur founded the Vaishnav Depository, a press which was housed in his own home. Srila Sarasvati Thakur learned about the printing press and began assisting his father in proofreading. At that time, Srila Thakur Mahashai's magazine, Sajantoshani, resumed publication. In that same year, Srila Sarasvati Thakur accompanied Srila Thakur Mahashaya on his pilgrimage to such places as Kulina Gram and Saragram. Saragram or Saragram? I'll just highlight this. At these places, he heard extensive discussions of the holy name. Also in 1885, Srila Thakur Mahashaya established his Vishva Vaishnav Raj Sabha, the great assembly of the Vaishnavas of the world, in the house of Sri Ram Gopal Basu on Betun Row in Kolkata. Many well-known personalities such as Madan Gopal Goswami, Nilkanta Goswami, Bipin Bihari Goswami, Radhika Nath Goswami, and Shishir Kumar Ghosh attended the meetings of the society and participated in discussions. Srila Sarasvati Thakur used to carry Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami to these meetings and listen to the discussions there with rapt attention. Srila Sarasvati Thakur was not interested in associating with other boys of his age, interested in spiritual matters. His two favorite books were Prarthana and Prem Bhakti Chandrika by Srila Narottam Das Thakur. As a young boy, he published books on astrology such as Surya Siddhanta and Bhakti Bhavana Panjika. In the afternoons, he spent hours debating about religion and philosophy with other students in Kolkata's Baidan Square. Later, while still a teenager, he founded the August Assembly. All members of the assembly had to take a vow of lifelong celibacy. Many educated people, both young and old, took part in the assembly. Sanskrit College and work in Tripura. It's from 1892 to 1905. In 1892, Srila Sarasvati Thakur finished school and enrolled in the Sanskrit College. He was more interested in reading many different books in the college library than in reading his own textbooks. He studied the Vedas under Pandit Prithvidhar Sharma after college. He also studied the Siddhanta Kaumudi within a very short time. As a student in Sanskrit college, he refuted some of the concepts of Professor Panchanan Sahityacharya. Subsequently, no one wanted to debate with Srila Sarasvati Thakur for fear of defeat. But his spiritual interests did not allow him to stay in college for very long. He wrote in his autobiography, "If I keep studying at college with great attention, then I will be under a lot of pressure to enter family life. But if I am seen as a stupid, incompetent person, then no one will try towards material progress." Thinking this, I left the Sanskrit college, and in order to live a life of devotional service, I wanted a pious occupation so I could have a modest income. In 18, Sarasvati Thakur established the Sarasvat Chatushpati, the Sarasvat Academy, at Bhakti Bhavan. Many prominent and educated men, such as Lala Haragori Shankar and Dr. Akendranath Ghosh, Satkari Chattopadhyay, Shyamalal Goswami, and Sarachandra Vidya Vinod came to study astrology and mathematics there. From Saraswati Chatushpati, Srila Saraswati Thakur published astrological magazines such as Jyotirvida and Brihaspati, as well as quite a few ancient astrological texts. Srila Saraswati Thakur's reputation as a very knowledgeable astrologer spread in the educated society of Kolkata. Later, Sir Ashutosh Mukhopadhyay, the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Kolkata, said that the chair of astronomy at the University of Kolkata would be reserved for Srila Saraswati Thakur. In 1895, Srila Saraswati Thakur accepted a job with the independent state of Tripura as a scholar and tutor for the royal family thereof. Oh, my Gurudev talks about this in our reading this morning. After King Virachandra passed away in 1896, his son, King Radha Kishore Manikya Bahadur, requested Srila Saraswati Thakur to tutor the princes, and later to supervise the estate in Kolkata. But Srila Saraswati Thakur soon wished to retire from this job, and the king allowed him to do so in 1905 with full pension. Srila Saraswati Thakur accepted that pension until 1908. Oh wow, for a while. Bhajan life and initiation. This is from 1898 to 1905. Previously, in 1898, Srila Saraswati Thakur had visited different places of pilgrimage, such as Kashi, Prayag, and Gaya. Why did I come into that? At Kashi, at Benares, he had an extensive discussion with Ram Mishra Shastri about the Ramanuja Sampradaya. During this period, the renunciate nature of his devotional life became very apparent. As early as 1897, he was observing the 4 months of Chaturmasya with great austerity and devotion. He boiled food, havishanya, with which he cooked himself, and he'd sleep on the floor without pillows. In 1899, he wrote various articles to preach Vaishnavism in a magazine called Nivedan, published in Kolkata. In 1890, his scholarly book Bhange Samajikata, consisting of research on society and religion, was published in Kolkata. In 1897, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur established his own bhajan kutir, his own called Ananda Sukara Kunj on the Godrum island of Navadip, on the bank of the river Sarasvati. There, in the winter of 1898, Srila Saraswati Thakur met an extraordinary exalted Vaishnava saint, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. So he met Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, who captured his heart. Srila Saraswati Thakur wanted to take shelter at the lotus feet of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, and by the order of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he surrendered at the lotus feet of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji and received Bhagavati Diksha, initiation from him in 1900. Shortly before this, in March of the same year, Srila Saraswati Thakur had gone to Raimuna via Baleshwar to see the deity of Kir Chor Gopinath. Then he went to Puri via Bhubaneswar. Srila Saraswati Thakur became very attached to the holy city of Puri. His great desire was to establish a mat in front of the samadhi of Srila Haridas Thakur. The sub-registrar of Puri, Jagabandhu Patanayak, and others requested him to take charge of the service of the deity of Sri Giridhari at Satasan Mat. In 1902, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur started to build his bhajan kutir called Bhakti Kuti near the samadhi of Srila Haridas Thakur. think it's Bhakti Kuti. I'll have to look that up. The king of Kashin Bazar, Maharaj Manindra Chandranandi, who was grief-stricken due to some personal tragedy, used to live there in a tent and listen to the Harikatha of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Sarasvati Thakur. At this time, Srila Sarasvati Thakur regularly used to read and explain the Chaitanya Charitamrita to the audience in Bhakti Kuti in front of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. During this time, he labored to collect material for Vaishnav Manjusha, a Vaishnav encyclopedia. One Babaji, Radharaman Charandas, who lived in Puri, had concocted a song, Bhaja Nitai Gora Radhe Sham Japa Hare Krishna Hare Ram. Srila Sarasvati Thakur not only protested against this, but presented a very strong argument and proved it to be inauthentic and against Vaishnava scriptures. This Babaji also introduced the Saki Beki concept. Isn't it Beki? I'll have to look this up. Because Beka is a beggar, right? I think so. I don't know. We'll have to look that up. So this Babaji also introduced the Saki Beki concept by addressing one of his followers as Lalita Saki. This was against Mahaprabhu's teachings, since an ordinary jiva was being worshipped as though he were an expansion of Srimati Radharani. Srila Sarasvati Thakur was always a fearless and forthright speaker, and thus opposed the Babaji. Therefore, those who opposed him, unable to defeat him in argument, tried other ways to suppress his preaching. Although Srila Sarasvati Thakur silently tolerated this opposition, this oppression, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur asked him to go to Mayapur and practice his bhajan there without obstacles. We'll finish after this time because it's starting to get late for me. In Sri Mayapur Dham, 1905 to 1910. Oops, what am I doing? Let me just make sure this is so. Oh, Hari Bol, Manjari Didi. Okay, in Sri Mayapur Dham, 1905 to 1910. In February 1905, Srila Sarasvati Thakur went on a pilgrimage to various holy places in South India. After visiting Singhachal, Rajmahendri, Madras, Peremvedur, Tirupati, Kanjiveram, Kumbakonam, Sri Rangam, Madura, etc., he returned to Kolkata and then went on to Sri Mayapur. In Peremvedur, he gathered information about the practice of Tridanda Vaishnava Sannyas from a Tridandi Swami who belonged to Ramanuja Sampradaya. In 1905, Srila Sarasvati Thakur began preaching Sriman Mahaprabhu's message while residing in Sri Mayapur. Following in the footsteps of Srila Haridas Thakur, he would take the holy name 300,000 times daily. He'd chant 3 lakhs of Harinam. He would sleep on the floor for only a few hours, eat very simply, and take the holy name day and night. In the afternoon, he would speak Harikatha to the assembled devotees. On some days, he would go to Kulia to have darshan of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji and receive his instruction. Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji was very pleased to see the great renunciation of Srila Sarasvati Thakur. He used to say, "In my Prabhu, I see the same kind of renunciation that was seen in Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath." Srila Babaji Mahashai used to address his disciple Srila Sarasvati Thakur as my Prabhu, my master. Srila Sarasvati Thakur also received the blessings of Srila Vamshi Das Babaji Maharaj in Navadip. Saying Srila Sarasvati Thakur, Srila Vamshi Das Babaji Maharaj would say, "Someone very close to my Sri Gaur has come to me." Srila Sarasvati Thakur began his intense preaching of pure devotional principles in a society in which the authority of the Brahmins was unquestioned, and the concept of pure devotion was misinterpreted and misrepresented by the imitators of Vaishnavism, the Sahajiyas. In India, in the 19th century and early 20th centuries, most Brahmins were more concerned about rules and regulations that were separated from the concept of devotion and not based on the injunctions of authentic scriptures than they were about. Sorry, let me reread. I messed up with that sentence. It's a long sentence. Sorry, guys, I'm a bit tired right now. In India, most Brahmins were more concerned about rules and regulations separate from bhakti and not based on the injunctions of authentic scriptures. So they're more interested in that than they were about what was spiritually and morally beneficial for the rest of society. A Brahmin was no longer a person with Brahminical qualities, but simply a person born in a family of Brahmanas. Since the caste system was rotting at its core, it had become meaningless and was in fact detrimental to the spiritual and moral welfare of society. The Brahmanas opposed any ideas that might threaten their preeminence, which was bereft of any moral or spiritual bliss. Although many educated people had lost their faith in the beneficial role of the Brahmin class, so even though people lost faith in the Brahmin class, they did not know who could take their place. The pure Vaishnavas led reclusive lives hidden from the public eye, and the Sahajiya Vaishnavas aroused more hatred and suspicion than respect. In this context, Srila Prabhupada wanted to establish the principles of Daivi Varnashram Dharma, the system in which the service of the Lord is placed in the center of society. And a Vaishnava is respected by everyone else, and one's caste is ascertained according to one's natural tendency, not according to one's birth. All right. Oh, and then the next part, there's a letter from Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and oh gosh, out here. So there's that letter by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I think we published that also once in the Raising the Harmonist, unless it's a different letter. And then there's Vajran Kutir Vrajapatan, 1909. Oh, I want to read this. Okay, maybe I'll read. I'll read this all tomorrow. It's almost midnight here, so I'm gonna end now. I'm really tired, but that was super interesting, very interesting, and very nicely written. Yeah, amazing book. This is the first time I ever got to read this, so I'm really happy. I'll read more tomorrow. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. I'll just do a really quick Jaidwani. Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Kandarvika Giridhari Ki Jai, Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Jai Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Srila Param Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Srila Prabhupāda Sarasvati Gosvāmī Thakur Ki Jai, Tadīya Shubhatiravav Titi Ki Jai, Jai Nitil Parishram Vishnupad. Sorry, I just kind of fell asleep. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Sa Parshad Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigan Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrindadevi Ki Jai, Shri Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Tadīya Shubhatiravav Titi Ki Jai, Shri Jagar Guru Paramahansa Kula Swami Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Goswami Prabhupāda Ki Jai, Tadiya Vyāsa-pūjā Maha Mahotsav ki jai. Avirbhav Titi Palan Samasta Kari Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha. Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranam everybody. Rup Manjari Didi and Ganga Mataji. Thanks for reading with me, even though I was falling asleep a lot of times. And I'll see you both tomorrow I think maybe I'll read this. We'll read articles. Maybe we can read this one, Residence in Veg. I really like that one. Or we can find something else. And yeah. All right. Hari Bol, everybody. Dandavat Pranams. See you all tomorrow. Oh, wait a second. You probably already joined, but just in case you haven't, or if there's anybody watching this later on, today we made a WhatsApp group, Raise of the Harmonist Team. And every day we will be posting a quote by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta, by our Guru Varga. Did I say every day? I meant to say twice a week. Once or twice a week, we'll post a quote from our Guru Varga. And so you can get the link. I'll just put it in the description. Give you 1 second to do that. Okay. Copy link. I'll put it there. All right, everybody. Jai Shri Radhe Hari Bol. See you tomorrow.